Only a couple more weeks left in the Big 12, so how are our power rankings shaking out? Let's get right into it, Toe Tree, and start at the bottom. Let's do it with your 16th team.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, they've been 16 all year long, approaching now 2 full seasons without winning a Big 12 game. Just brutal to be an Oklahoma State fan. Also brutal to be a Colorado Buffalo fan. Thankfully, though, if you're a Buff fan, you didn't have to watch your team last week. They sit at number 15. Things aren't getting any easier for the Buffs. At number 14, UCF. They are fresh off a spanking from Texas Tech, 48-9, tough for the Knights. And then West Virginia sitting at number 13. Ooh. No movement on the back half of my rankings, 13 through 16, all the same, Rubus.
Oh, Toe Tree, we were so close. We were so close to going 4 for 4. I don't think.
What'd you screw up this week?
I don't think a single time we have gotten 4 in a row exactly the same this season. But at the bottom, this is not where we screw up. I've got Oklahoma State at 16. At 15, I'm keeping it the Colorado Buffaloes. At 14, I've got UCF. So where do we differ? Well, at 13, you know how I feel about those Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas, a week off, I had them at 13. I didn't move them anywhere else the same way you didn't move West Virginia. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get to West Virginia soon enough. But I've got Kansas coming in as my 13th best team in the Big 12 as we near the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it's fair because I have Kansas at number 12. So only a one-spot difference. We were super close.
No movement. We're just
close,
the same
no movement
where we were.
whatsoever. This is where you do get some movement, though. At number 11, I've got Baylor. A really, really disappointing season for the Bears continues. They got absolutely whopped by Utah, 55-28. TCU did the exact same. They got smacked around by BYU this past weekend. Rough for these teams to waste Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson, respectively. And then Iowa State, they didn't play, so they move up because they didn't suffer an ass kicking during the bye week. So congratulations to the Cyclones on sitting at number 9 in the conference.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that we are going to have some more similar teams here. Obviously, I don't have West Virginia at 13, so I have West Virginia at 12. Honestly, they're playing pretty good football as of late. Close game against Arizona State, some big plays for them. They don't drop despite a loss. At number 11, I've got Baylor, same as you. What a disappointing game from them and TCU. Not much more needs to be said about those two teams. Being at this point of the conference is pretty disappointing. For me at number 9, I've got Kansas State, more of just like a war of attrition at this point. They do beat Oklahoma State, but barely. Not a pretty game. Oklahoma State did some crazy stuff to stay into that game. I cannot believe that game was as close as it was, but I've got Kansas State coming in at number 9. I wonder if we'll see Kansas State soon for you.
Yeah, right away. Right at number 8 for me. So, again, just one spot off of where you have them. It was an ugly game, but there's no such thing as an ugly win. Kansas State wins 14-6 over the worst team in the conference, Oklahoma State. This is where things get interesting, though. Cincinnati at number 7, they fall. They were pretty high up in my power rankings over the last several weeks, but a loss to Arizona at home really puts a damper on their season. And then Arizona moving up after an impressive win, again, on the road over Cincinnati. Really interested to see what the Wildcats do over the course of the next 2 weeks. They've got Baylor and then a very interesting Territorial Cup game against the Sun Devils. Houston, though, sitting at number 5, no movement for that team that didn't play this week. Again, Houston still in the thick of the race to go to the Big 12 championship. So really interested to see what the Cougs got.
Yeah, definitely interested to see what Houston is able to do. At number 8 for me, I've got Iowa State, who does move up in a bye week. At number 7, I've got Houston staying the same. That was not a convincing game against UCF in the Astronaut Bowl. I believe that's what they're calling it. I don't know. Is that what they're calling it?
Something along
something about space.
Space Bowl.
Yeah. Space Bowl would be a great
I think it was like the first time they had
game.
actually lost that game in like several seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense because UCF stinks. At number 6, I've got Cincinnati, who does drop after losing to Arizona, only to number 6, though, for me. At number 5, I think Arizona Wildcats. I mean, you've got to give them credit. They have had a great season under Brent Brennan. I think It's very interesting how high and low those emotions have been with that fan base throughout the season. They can have an argument that there's a couple of games that they should have lost, and there's an argument that there's a couple of games they should have won. At the end of the day, they will be bowling and possibly, competing for a pretty good bowl game this season under Brent Brennan for the second year. Noah Fafita's been playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. You got to tip your hat and give them where credit is due.
1,000%. For me, coming down to the Final Four here, I do have Sparky and the Sun Devils at number 4. In fact, Arizona's win over Cincinnati really helps Arizona State in terms of trying to reach the Big 12 championship again. I know it's a small chance, but it is a chance. No rising, though, for Arizona State, just based off of a 25-23 win over West Virginia. Utah stays put simply because the two teams above them are just better. Utah, though, certainly a team not just in the thick of going back to the Big 12 championship, but also potentially a CFP at large bid. If they continue to just run through the rest of the conference, they'll need help. But Utah been really, really impressive. BYU, they do fall for me here from number 1 to number 2. Now, again, some people are going to be upset at that. The reason that they fall is because we didn't do power rankings last week. So Texas Tech, for me, would have already been number 1 based off the fact that they had beat BYU a week ago. So I do have BYU at number 2. A really impressive team. Nonetheless, every week I think they're going to lose, and every week they continue to shove it in my face, and they win. And Tech, of course, sitting at number 1 in the conference. In my power rankings, just an absolute juggernaut, with the one blemish, of course, being one loss to Arizona State.
Yeah, see, it's interesting. I forgot that we didn't do power rankings last week when looking at the last rankings that I sent. At number 4 for me, I've got Arizona State, who does move up after a win against West Virginia. At number 3, I've got Texas Tech, which, again, that was looking off of
there you go.
A couple weeks ago. Number 2, I've got Utah, so I would definitely flip those, but I think Utah has been just as good as anybody as of late. At number 1, I've got BYU. I do think that BYU's win was the most impressive win in the Big 12 this past weekend.
This past week, yeah.
I mean, I think beating a TCU team, that's a decent, like, obviously we dropped them down because of the result, but record-wise, they have been a pretty decent team in conference and just an absolute dog walking. Now, when I do my power rankings, I base them off of the last power rankings that I sent. Totally spaced. We didn't do it last week. So I'm like, no movement. All 3 of those teams won. All 3 of them won big. Realistically, Texas Tech at least above Utah, probably above BYU as well. But those are clearly the top 3 teams in the conference.
I'm interested for everybody in the comments when they see just that you have
nobody's going to hear the explanation.
Just as you have Texas Tech at number 3, that's going to be enough to set the whole city of Lubbock.
I should have put them lower.
Yeah, you should have. But here we are at this point.
Here we are.
Goodness gracious. Look, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And, of course, we'll see you next week on another edition of our Big 12 Power Rankings.